Hey, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're on the internet. We're on the internet. What's up, everybody? Gabe Rock here on the mic. Welcome back to Constant Elevation. Welcome back to the final episode of Asian American Pacific Islanders Leaders Unmuted. Very, very happy to have these young men on the show tonight. It's going to be good stuff. This is a culmination of I started in April, actually, and because I wanted to get an early start to do what I want. And I think I wanted to have that lots of leadership tell me always end on a positive note, and I really think this is going to be in a positive note. We have some really strong leaders here to talk about no pressure, but don't be screwing up these AAPI Heritage Events. These are important for us, and a lot of us look forward to hosting these on our respective local areas and our local bases. And but the stuff just doesn't magically happen, and I really think that I want to share the stories, just either the good or bad, or just kind of different perspectives. And I think my guests tonight are going to be great storytellers of all the places that they've done and the things that they probably will continue to do because they're just passionate about that. So without further ado, I got two guests I'm going to introduce tonight. So first up, I want to introduce First Lieutenant Keum Lee. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you're not nervous, or else that's fine. And my second guest, maybe second most nervous, is TSgt Ferdy Hooper. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me as well.
Yeah. See, it's fine. We're just talking. So, Lee, go ahead and give me a little quick synopsis of your background.
Absolutely. So, like Gabe said, I'm First Lieutenant in the United States Air Force. I'm originally from Spokane, Washington. Went to high school in Gonzaga Prep. And then after that, I decided to go somewhere bigger. So I went to school in Texas. Got my bachelor's at Baylor University, Sick'em Bears. Got to represent. And then after that, I commissioned through the Air Force ROTC program, and then now I'm here as a 17 Delta, working at Joint Base Langley Eustis.
Yeah, a fellow cyberspace operations officer. Always good stuff to hit Deltas. All right, Ferdy, tell me what you got.
All right. Like I said, I'm Technical Sergeant Ferdinand Hooper. I'm stationed here at Kirtland Air Force Base. Originally born and raised in the Philippines. 17, I traveled to Florida. That's where I stayed and handled a lot of job. At the age of 27, I joined the military, the Air Force, and here I am now, 18 years in the service. And yeah, love this AAPI stuff. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. So now I'm going to age myself. I hit, how long you been in the Air Force again? 1 year, 4 days?
No, I'm about a little
over
2 years.
2 years. Well, you're a first lieutenant, so at least 2 years. Okay. So I've been in for 19 years. So if you guys put yourselves together, if you take away leave or TDYs or something like that, then yes, I've been in the Air Force as long as both of you. That's cool. That's fine.
Thank you for your service,
Thank you for your service. Fuck off. So no. So the reason why I asked both of you guys to join me on the show is because both of you, from your respective foxholes, have had been putting on some awesome AAPI events, and it was one of those kind of things of I wanted to explore how the different perspectives of if you've been in this game for a while, maybe even if you've done it and from an officer and an enlisted perspective. I mean, those things can be some different ways, and maybe even somehow the leadership has helped you guys out. But so I guess Ferdy, I'm going to start you off with the first question. So you said you've been in the game for a little bit, and you and I have been talking before we started recording. This is not your first rodeo. You've done at least 5. Either this is your 5th, or you're going into your 5th year of hosting AAPI heritage events. So I'm curious, what keeps you interested in wanting to keep on hosting these every single year?
Well, I mean, one of those guys who just is strong on showing pride, the Phil-Am pride, and always been involved, and my career had been a lot of fun, hanging out with the AAPI, whether it's basketball. I mean, I've also was commissioner for multiple years in Okinawa, running basketball leagues for AAPI and Phil-Am. So from that, everybody else is talking about, hey, AAPI or Phil-Am group. I'm like, oh man, I need to go check that out. And
yeah,
then it started in Korea, and shout out to Senior Master Sergeant Eddie Grant. He's the one that ran the AAPI in Kunsan, and I happened to be the president of the OFA at the time. So me and him linked up, and he ran it, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool. And he got a lot of the manpower from OFA because, as you know already, probably every time you see AAPI, it's like 85% Filipinos involved in that. And to my experience, anyway, I'm talking about my experience, and we're strong that way. And from then on, you learn a lot. You meet a lot of friends in there, a lot of great leaders and stuff, and you just connect. And after a while, you see the advantages of it. What it really does in the long run, as far as the network on that as well. Is awesome. And on top of the the real reason why you're doing it, as far as sharing your heritage, educating people, about you, and you learning about others as well. And every time you do this, you'll have, especially when it comes to the food, one thing I want to highlight is not so much of the differences, but our similarities. We all love food, and we all love, a lot of people love martial arts. We do shows for martial arts. We find people in there that could perform things like that. And it's definitely a conversation starter. And you get to talk with people that you probably won't talk to just in the daily basis, just come across them. But there, you're all in one event. You get to talk to people. And when you leave, they start coming to you. It's like, hey, I saw the show about the martial arts. Where can I get information from them?
Right,
and then you learn. And that's where you linked up. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun too. When on the event, you see a lot of these happy faces, and like I said, the conversation and things like that, and the connections you have. I don't know, it's just fun. And I love performing once in a while, like whether it's the nickling and things like that. Now, do I always volunteer for it? No, but if they need somebody, I jump in there. I mean, if that's another thing that we're lacking to make this event more successful, like this, just this week when we did this AAPI Tuesday, they said, hey, we need one more person tinikling, and I was like, well, I got my barong on my car, so I guess I'll put it on.
I guess I got to do it.
I guess we'll just freestyle,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm the face of the event because they know I'm the pro Joe. I said, well, I got to do everything to make sure that this is a success, and not only that, it's fun for me. So,
that's
and
awesome.
every year,
that's awesome.
Yeah, every year you meet more people on the committee. And 2 years ago, there's like 12 of us is strong, OG on this group. And then everyone PCS, so there's like 2 of us. I was just going to be an advisor this year, but I was looking around in our first meeting, and we didn't even start until like mid-April. So everything is a rush. But you know what?
Nothing like starting late. It's fine.
Yeah. But, like I said, you gain some friends in there, and then you can't say no to them. And then, it's fun. You want to do it anyway, so you do it.
That's awesome. So I got 2 stories I think about. So you guys, both, well, Freddie, you've like, as you come up, you've kind of seen like the differences. I remember when I was first coming in the Air Force, so we're talking about like early 2000s. It was an idea of you like the month has existed for a while, and so like it's a whole thing of, all right, when it's coming around. I think the only time there was no Facebook when I came into the Air Force, and so how do you know like what's the AAPI thing going on? Like you have to be like you have to go to like the right staff meeting or have the right leadership tell you that like, hey, I was at the wing staff meeting and this lieutenant somebody or master sergeant somebody is the POC. Find this person and then you can connect. So it's like it's a search. Like it's way too much work to try and find who's going to end up being the lead. Nowadays, like especially on pages like the, Ferdy, you and I are part of the PhilAm Airman page. Shout out to Sergeant Desposo, and then come you and we are part of the Asian American Officers page. And so like there's built-in easy communities. You could just put a thing up, hey, who's in base X, who's at Fort Meade, who's at blah blah blah, and then boom, 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 I'll connect you. So I'm very appreciative of the ability to network because I didn't have that back in the day. So it just makes it a lot easier to connect. Second one was like, so I still think this is a funny story. When I was in Alaska, my second command tour, and so I'm at the wing staff meeting, and then there was supposed to be like it's like probably like the very early first wing staff meeting of May. I'm like, all right, bet. Like, and I've already seen the wing POC. It was 2 tech sergeants, I think, at the time, and they're about to like they were previously there last week, but they're like, we're gonna have some real stuff to show you next week. We're like, yes, let's go. I want to see what's going on and what you guys have set up. For whatever odd reason, they didn't show up at the wing staff meeting, and so like the slide deck popped up, and everybody's kind of staring at like the slide deck, and I'm like, am I supposed to get up? I can do this, like freestyle. And so I just got up like, hey, everybody, Gabe Rock here. Just want to talk about the thing. And I just kind of started tap dancing. And finally they came in. I was like, thank God. And they're like, were you going to really say something? Like, I have no idea, but I wasn't going to let this opportunity go away. I'm an AAPI, so we have to make sure this thing looks professional, regardless if you thought I was prepared or not. And so, just it's interesting to see like the evolution of how these events work, and just had like, technology helps us kind of do these things anyway. So come for yours, since you've only been in for like 2 something years, and I think we were talking before this. So I'm curious, like, as you started getting involved, did you was there something you inherited as far as like, here's an event, we have this general agenda of things that we were trying to do last year, if you want to just stick to that, or did you have to start from scratch? Like, how's your adventure been as you started to build and develop your own AAPI Heritage Events?
That's a great question. So we started off from scratch. We basically, so the Equal Opportunity Office, they sent out an email to the whole base saying, hey, we're looking for project officers for these special observances, and Wes and I, we got selected for both. Unfortunately, the event that we were running, it was the first since COVID and the first AAPI special observance like ever. The last special observance was back in 2019 in February. So we kind of took what they had. They basically gave us a template, and it's like, hey, these are the stuff that you need to meet. So we basically went off of that. But also, I think we were notified the first week of April, and we didn't get much guidance other than that template. It's like, all right,
okay,
see you, whatever.
Sure.
So we just went big. Like Wes and I, we just started, connecting to other people and try to get them scheduled into this, month of May, and so we learned a lot in a very, very short amount of time. And then we continued to learn other stuff as we try to, organize events on base, external organizations and stuff like that. So it's been quite the adventure.
Awesome.
I'm glad we took that opportunity.
So like, was it, and how, the fact that it was kind of like a blank slate for you guys, like, was that like intimidating, or was it like exciting because you kind of craft your own thing? And like, especially you and Chewy just having enough like, youth on your side, we're like, hey, so here's some stuff. And I would say potentially maybe you guys even had different ideas that have never been presented before. I'm always interested when like a young lieutenant, young airman, it's like, hey, I want to do this. But like, all right, I did not even think that was the thing. But if that's the thing for you guys, and it gets your generation to kind of participate and get interested in, I'm all for that. So yeah, how did that make you feel?
We were very excited. Like the opportunity that we were given, we were slightly confused, but we were not intimidated by this opportunity. So we basically just had an Excel spreadsheet, and we just listed ideas, and our motto was go big until they say no. So we just started putting ideas. So we were like virtual events. We were doing, make a cookbook PDF. We were doing like daily quotes for the rest of May, and then we were doing all this stuff. So and then until we started talking to the POCs for the whole special observances, and then we started to get a little bit more, okay, so we can't do all this at once because there's obviously other stuff going on base. So we started learning like, okay, we can do so much in a week because we don't want to oversaturate. But we just went full on the first 2 weeks. Like, all right, just go. That's a good idea.
Just go.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's good. I think so. There's 2 parts I am thinking about, and Ferdy, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. So a lot of people sometimes they just think about like on base stuff. They're like, well, there's some the API community on base is who I need to try and solicit that workforce or whatever it is to try and get stuff done. But I know in your efforts, you've actually made specific efforts to make sure you go off base, because just to show the larger community that's out there, to make sure that like, hey, so we're here's us in uniform, but depending on if you're blessed to have, depending when you move or PCS to, certain bases have larger API communities that you can leverage. And so, what are some of your experiences as you've built those out in your guys' events?
Well, I was fortunate because when I got here, there is a FAPAC local chapter over here, and some of them are previous military that are running it, and they were doing some performances outside. So they already have their groups, and most of them are not prior military, but some of them are. So they're already part of the base, and they get involved with AAPI. So when it comes to performance, depending on your timing, if they're available, it's those people off base are more than willing to perform. It's they have a lot of pride as well, whether it's the group that does the dragon dance or the whatever country they're representing. Martial arts, or there's a lot of martial art clubs here as well, and they support the military. So, and some of their students are military. So some of those people like, hey, I go to this, and they'll be more than willing to do that. And we keep their contacts, and we say, hey, you guys willing to do this? And and we tell them who can. We try to figure out. That's something that you really want to coordinate a lot early, because security forces, not all of them are U.S. citizen, and you got to make sure that you get on their listings. Sometimes 30 days in advance, you got to submit that letter so they could do a background check on them, so you could
Right, right.
escort them. So things like that. And we're just fortunate that on this year, since we started the meeting mid-April, that most of the people that we're able to get are either have pass or U.S. citizen, that we could easily escort them. But if you're planning as much as possible, our goal is always to start in February of the year and start planning out. Whether at first you could be, every 2 weeks is your meeting, and then you go to every week, getting close to the event. Because there's a lot of coordination to do, doing inventory of your items. Anyway, getting out of the subject, but yes, we have programs on here. We have organizations outside that love and support the military. So when you
It's awesome.
contact them, they're always willing to perform.
That's good. So when I first put the call out for wanting to have, I wanted to be kind of like lessons learned kind of conversation, and just kind of sharing some of your stories and things that like, hey, so make sure you do these things. I hope this episode will live in. It's not gonna live in perpetuity, but like it just gives some flashes of like, no, you have people who put on some pretty badass kind of events, and so like take some of both of you guys, your experiences, can kind of lend some of your knowledge to everybody who's going to do it. And I'm very sure everybody who is a POC this month, is like, okay, here's some stuff. You're writing stuff down. You're going to, like, to your point, Ferdy, you're going to pass stuff on. Like, hey, so I know this guy or gal off base. They're down. I've yet to see a API related organization to be like, nah, fam, I don't want to do that. Like, no, everybody's excited to show off whatever it is. And just kind of show off the sides that we contribute to our communities and the things we're proud of. Those are kind of things that we get excited about. And so even if you're coming from off base, even just from out of nowhere, don't be surprised when you ask somebody and they're going to be like all in, like maybe even like two all in, like, oh wait, hold up, I don't know if I can get like 50 of you guys to come and do it like a haka, but like I'll figure out some stuff and we can get these things done. And so Frey, I appreciate those kind of points of advice to kind of keep those going. So I was on you made a mention about, and I like that, the idea of, high energy, just want to get done until someone says no. Tell me about, like, what are your thoughts on like trying to deconflict with other organizations on base? Like, they're not competing. They're just other people who are trying to do the same thing. Did you have to kind of work through those as well?
Oh no, not at all. The people that we were scheduled like throughout May, we accommodated them because we basically had the entire month just to do, whatever that we wanted to do. So I mean, all of our panels were all virtual, so it didn't really conflict. and it was
Oh, okay.
it was
Yeah,
all
yeah.
it was all, it didn't conflict with anything because we wanted to do a couple like physical events, but I'll get into that later. But it's, most of our stuff was virtual, so it didn't really conflict with anything else on base.
Okay.
Or
So
or
that's a good point. I keep on forgetting that like there's these last year and some or maybe 2 years was just kind of it's kind of odd. We tried to make do what we have to do. But so I remember like where like whenever you're trying to do any kind of observance stuff, usually you mentioned earlier, depending on when your base is, the EO office may end up becoming like the focal point for trying to deconflict certain organizations. So maybe we're trying to do everything in 1 month or trying to do everything in 1 quarter or whatever it is. It's fine. I'll also say I don't give a shit. We should do what we want for real. Like you're not going to tell me to stop doing things without that I'm proud of. But the idea of deconflicting, right? And so like for like an example would be, say you guys were going to do at your base or Ferdy at your base, you're going to do like a food and or dance like exhibition. But then like AAPI's was doing something similar on that same day. You don't want to compete, right? It's probably not a competing thing at all, but you need to just kind of throw that calendar out there and be like, hey, so I don't know who needs to know these things, but I just want to make sure that we're going to do this on Thursday afternoon. So it would be probably in everyone's best interest if you kind of deconflict those, you work those things out. Ferdy, you made a mention of like, starting in February, or whatever it is. If you know a guy, you know the girl, those things end up happening or helping everybody get like not equal amount of shine, but you're just not trying to outshine each other. That's the one thing that I find during AAPI events. Like nobody's trying to win and be the best. Like we all want to have to showcase what we can either set up or what we're really good at. If you have the connection with the local dance or MMA gyms off base, or the bomb lupia maker, yes, then I need to make sure she needs to get all that shine, and then we're going to raise some money and maybe we send it back home, or we're going to do all these things for that. Like there's ways to just smartly do some of that deconfliction. And so I'm curious if you guys have had any like stories as far as like, hey, so we want to make sure everybody's trying to get those positive things out there, and you guys both ended up on the success story. Whoever wants to start.
Okay, well, I do have an experience about that. This year, the first time that the Base Exchange over here put together some events for AAPI, I found out they actually started their planning a lot earlier, because us on the active duty were really cautious about, what our condition is as far as the COVID and stuff, whether we could do anything just like last year. And when I found out that the AAPIs was doing something, the Base Exchange here, I immediately contacted the POC. And competing is definitely not an idea or even a thought. What I thought about is partner with them. Hey, we're doing AAPI as well. I'm the
So smart.
I'm the project officer for this year and running this stuff. And looks like you guys are ahead of the game because you already have this event going on, while I'm still trying to get approval from the base commander whether are we going to have the green light to execute. And we have our plans already. This is what we're going to execute. It's just a matter of yes or no to the commander. But you guys got something out already. What can we do to make sure your event is successful? Would really sell? Do you need more advertisement? Do you need manpower or something? Is there anything that we could do where it doesn't require us to have public health approval to make it bigger? So
Right.
communicating that with them. So we partnered and combined force on that. They had 2 Saturdays that they did an event. The first Saturday is mostly them because it was really last minute when I found out. But we did some advertisement. We talked to public affairs. That's part of our committee. I said, hey, let's boost them up. Can we send this on your page and
on your internal stuff, right? You're almost like you're like a second. I don't want to say your built-in audience, but like no, you have somebody else who wants to help you make this a success. So you just complement each other as you start planning together. Yeah,
correct. So I told them, man, this is going to be big because your event right now is like the kickoff for this month.
Right.
And
yeah.
We'll do everything to make that big because we want to start strong and we want to finish strong. So And they were like, "Oh man, this is great!" And we always do this every year. We weren't expecting anything from Base Exchange because we've never seen this before. I've never seen it on the last 5, 6 years that I'm here. So, let's combine strength, combined force now, and then next year we will include you on our distro list, and then you'll see the email traffic we have, so you could see how we execute. So next year, you could reply to all on this email and say, "Hey, any of you guys doing anything?" Then from the get go, we will combine force and we will be successful on every event.
That's
So
awesome.
that's how I did it. So the second week, we were involved much more because we were more prepared. We have another week to prepare as far as a show and tell table. We have a food showcase because, like I said, we're lack of time from public health. Instead of us doing food tasting for while they have performance going on, we have a showcase to say, "Hey, here are the food plates, a different dish from different countries, and here is a handout like a paper that prints out all those ingredients and maybe a YouTube link to say kind of give you an idea how to make this dish and talk about it." And we're in there with our traditional costumes from different countries representing it. So we try to make it bigger and advertise it as as large as we can. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Lee, you got any stories like that?
Nothing like I can't agree with that. Like we were trying to do exactly the same thing he was trying to do. It's just the timing and the whole the Colonial pipeline strike. So accommodating people that may or may not have gas or have access to gas. So we wanted to do something with food because everyone loves food. Like you say food, like okay, people are gonna come. But we also didn't want food to be the whole driving factor of what we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
do. So in addition to that, we wanted to have a pop-up museum, have like showcase, show a short film. So we wanted to do the Go for Broke, the origin story, have that running um, in a building, and then have different communities in the AAPI. So you got Korean American, you got Chinese American, you have Japanese American, you have all these things, so people can go and you know educate themselves in a compassionate environment, right? And we're not forcefully trying to feed them information. We want them to understand and know our stories because ultimately all are American and all human beings. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. There's definitely like a I was actually thinking about I don't know if we have what other celebration month has such like in it almost like a an excitement definitely about food. I feel like ours is like significantly more so than any other minority out there because like
right.
it's part of our culture like and it's so diverse. It's so like like food is just it's a community thing anyway, right? It gets more people who doesn't like food. Everybody likes food, and so it's just an easy way for just kind of even if it's just like an intro to go be like yeah. So I want to your point earlier, come up. It's like the idea of I want to talk to you about some stuff that's probably a little bit that is important, but like that attention step is, but you want this food? You want this plate though for $10? It's fire. It's fire. You know it is. You know it's out here. You know the line is going to be long because whenever we offer like pre-sales of stuff like that, it's like hand over fist. Like here, just $20. I don't care. How many plates is that? I'll take all those. I need them all. And so we have that to our advantage, but I really like I think both of you guys understand that like that's not it. That's not it. We're not going to leave it there. We're going to use this as an opportunity because we can have just a larger, broader conversation with that the great thing about being in the Air Force and in any military service, I believe, is the true diversity of everybody. Everybody's coming from every corner. If you're coming from, Ferdy, if you're coming up from the Philippines or you're like a first, second generation AAPI, it doesn't matter. Wherever you're coming from, the military can give you a great opportunity. Also a great opportunity depending on where you live. You don't get exposure to like anything you until you join the military. I've met people like I've never met an Asian person before. I'd be like, where okay, that's it. That's a very interesting topic, but okay, cool. I will do my best to be the best Asian person that you have ever seen. Obviously I'm the most handsome one, but like the most whatever it is. and just trying to give people different perspectives and understand that that power of diversity and understanding where we come from just kind of adds to that strength of the Air Force. And so by offering these kind of AAPI heritage events, it's not just that flash, that surface level kind of thing and be like, yeah, here's kind of cool. And like, that's what always didn't bother me, but it definitely, when I started thinking about these heritage events, is why I wanted to do Leaders and AAPI Leaders Unmuted, is like, I wanted to do something different to tell stories like you guys, tell stories of like, hey, so this is not like it's May, so we're just going to put on this face and do these happy things. Like, no, we're very, very proud people. We're a very, very proud community. And even COVID, fuck that. I don't care. We'll figure out how we're going to overcome that. Wing leadership has support. Cool. They don't support us. Also cool. I don't care. Like, there's some things that we got young officers, we got motivated NCOs that like, we know the kind of important things our community does and becomes like, Ferdy, to your early point of like, a beacon of like you know it on the fill-on page on the Asian API officer page too. When we're trying to go to some base, we're immediately like, hey, who's at this base? I'm trying to find my people. I'm trying to find, where do I shop? I need to get this thing. Is there a basketball league that I need to join because it's all 6 foot people and below, because that's the kind of league we need to play in. But like that community we're looking for is very, very important. And I think it's more than just like the food thing and the dance thing. And I'm very, very proud that both you guys are kind of highlighting some of those deeper level conversations, deeper level successes, and the things that just kind of, it's not just check the box. And so like, Ferdy, I'll pass it over to you. You don't seem the kind of dude that like, hey, so I'm just going to check the box and make sure I put on a generic vanilla AAPI event. Like, I feel like you're going to go for broke. You want to make sure this thing is going to be legit, and you want to make it as good and expansive as you can, even as you keep on going your career, making it bigger and better.
Well, yes. I mean, whenever, it's always been my attitude to where, will you put my name on it? You bet you I'm going to do everything to make sure that's successful.
Hell yeah.
It's like Hell yeah. Mailbox, that represents me. So I want to make sure it's good. And also, it's a way to lead. You have a lot of younger airmen looking at you, leading events like this. You want to mentor them, so later on you could pass it to them. You always encourage them to do something. If this is your first time, go ahead, take a task, lead these smaller ones. Like one of my senior airmen, staff select now, he led the youth center, origami, arts and crafts and stuff, right? So he executed that. We give him guidance. I went over there and just kind of oversaw the process, and then until he get comfortable, then I'll leave. And the next year, I want him to step on something else. So maybe on the 3rd year, he could almost run this whole event, because you got to start somewhere, right? So like I said, the way you lead is set by example. And if they see that you're just checking the box, they're not going to be motivated to do that next year. If they see that you're passionate about it, there's got to be something, and that's one of those conversations that you could have with them. And during the meeting, you express that. You say, hey, the importance of this, why are we doing this? So they're into it. You're leading with a purpose. And just like one of the team that we had this year, and that's what it's all about, really, leading by example. And I don't know. It's just a lot of pride. I mean, that's just me, I guess.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. It's that passion. It's the passion to want to just show out who we are. To show that like there are. I talked earlier about like that beacon of like, hey, so we're out here, right? And then like, even if you're trying to do it, to lead your point earlier, like we got to do it like socially distanced. We got to do it virtually as much as possible. Like, all right, cool. And so sometimes that could be faster, depending on like, I can, you guys Ferdy, you're in New Mexico, now, Kirtland? Right. And then you're over in JBLE? Right. So like, I'm in Maryland. Like this is easy. We got used to after a year of doing bullshit COVID stuff. Like we know how to connect with people, so we can just get work done a lot more efficiently. There's some of the excuses go out the gate because they don't matter anymore. And so that idea of, I really like that idea of, I never thought about this. until right now, until you started talking, Ferdy, about it. But like some of these events end up becoming our own like leadership development programs. Like
Correct.
lead between you and Chewy. I mean, you guys are like, hey, so you got 2 young CGOs. Figure it out. Okay. Yep. Whatever. You're going to be successful or not. You got to figure it out. Like you had mentioned earlier that like you said that you had so much, you and Chewy had so much energy, you want to get it done and do it well. And so like did any senior leaders kind of give you support, or were you two just so you filled enough energy in the room that you guys just kept on going without anybody having to give you some of that like top cover or whatever?
So we were very fortunate to have a senior captain and a lieutenant colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Chen and Captain Zong, as part of our team. So there was multiple times where Chewy and I were frustrated because we weren't getting any progress with the whole getting the approval process and stuff like that. Because obviously I understand people are busy, and the EO team at the time were doing DOS surveys, and they're 3-man team. So I can understand, but we couldn't help but feel frustrated. So, and Lieutenant Colonel Chin and Captain Zong really kind of gave us a little bit more perspective on how we should be addressing and how to redirect that energy. So, because I don't like, to be honest, I don't think the EO office kind of knew how much energy we're going to put into this. Like
they weren't ready.
We took this very seriously. Like, this was something that both Chew and I were really passionate about. We talked multiple times before we started, planning and gathering our team, that the whole purpose of doing this was to raise awareness and not just to check our leadership boxes. That's just a nice thing to do. Is okay, cool. We get leadership experience. We can allow airmen or younger CGOs to lead and to help us out. So that's just a plus. But I think all of us as a team kind of collectively kind of learned a lot as me and Chewy and I kind of progressed through this whole month, very stressful month.
Yeah. It's very similar. Like, well, I'm going to say it's very similar because they're two. So, Ferdy, you ever been on like part of like an air show kind of committee or program?
Yes.
That's like a year, right? That's like a year's worth of planning. I've been on like several air show kind of stuff, and like the amount of work that goes into those, whatever weekend of festivities and all that kind of stuff, it takes like a significant amount of effort, significant amount of people. And that's all over a weekend. You two are trying to do something over a whole month, of stuff of like, and then which probably has no money. It's all free 99. It's off the sweat off your back. You guys are trying to figure out. I'm aware that there are some programs and some, I don't want to say exceptions, but like there's ways that you could secure funding. But a lot of this stuff is not going to be based on that. And almost to the point where like, I don't need money to do stuff. Like we know how to figure out ways to get this stuff done. And so it arguably, like we probably raise more money to contribute to the efforts or the services that are important to us to make sure that we're raising up our communities either here in the Konas or even back home to, so like for the fill-in patches that Ron is selling and that kind of stuff, and then donating money back to the Philippines. Like that's money. Like that's awesome. Those kind of things are how we can do multiple, not just one check the box. I did this thing for the base. It's like, no, I'm spreading word about our community. I'm helping my fellow men and women from my home country. I'm shining that beacon to be like, look, we're out here in these streets. There are more of us here. You can find us here. We can help you. You can become leaders. You get exposure and experience of just doing these things where it's in, I don't want to say it's not like the weird like safe space, but like it sort of is. You're gonna have graybeards like me. You're gonna have graybeards like Ferdy, we've been around this block, and like we want to. Ferdy, to your point earlier, we want to groom those people. We want to groom those airmen. We want to groom those young CGOs like Lee. Be like, hey, here's some stuff that probably sucked in the beginning. Don't do this anymore. Do these things and make sure, and then make it your own and keep on going on top of that. That's the kind of energy I think leaders like you two kind of bring to the community, and it just keeps on like exponentially getting bigger because that's the benefit of the Air Force. You're going to get opportunities all over the world. Speechless. Just kidding. I didn't say who's going to talk. So I did say I was going to prompt both of you guys. Ferdy, so actually, we're coming up on 40 minutes ish, and I know that your guys' time is precious, and so I do appreciate you guys spending some time with me. And so I think I got a couple final questions. Last question for both of you, and then we'll offer you guys some time for final comments. And so, Ferdy, I'll go you first. So, how do you think over the amount of API events that you've hosted, do you really? It's obviously about celebration. We're very, very proud of where we come from and everything we bring to American society and to the Air Force. But like, where do you stay? Where do you feel like we can make some advancements? We could advance our community, not just celebrate, like advance our community.
Well, I mean, for me, AAPI, it's all year long for me. Food is something that everybody loves, right? So, especially when I was on the flat line, one of the ways I boost the morale for everybody is, what do you guys like? Everybody loves lumpia. When you're Filipino, everybody thinks of lumpia right away, right? And but I use that as a tool to boost the morale, right? And at the same time, to tell stories and backgrounds and things like that. So, and then that's when you could start asking stories and about your people, and from there on, because that's really what it's all about, is sharing stories. We don't have to share our stories in May all the time. You could do that all year long. When you get new people, you ask about their backgrounds, right? So, and and then where you could guide them, what their goal is and things like that. Maybe they really want to learn more about the Philippines and they want to be stationed.
Yeah.
Oh well,
Yep.
you can't be stationed there anymore. There's no more Clarkson there, but
Not anymore.
but just
Whatever.
learn more things about the Asian culture and things like that. And then there you go. You find something similarities, and I really always look for the similarities that I could guide them. And then like API always invite them. It's like, hey, you've always want to learn more, be involved on this one. Then you could network. And just leading by example, like you said earlier, don't just do it for the check in the box. When they see that you're passionate about things, then they will be curious about that and they want to ask more. But if you're just doing it a check in the box, and you're not really driving them to be better, and you want to be, yeah, like I said, because for me, I guess on the personal level, it's the it's one of what I want to be remembered for. Someone who helped the community a lot. The military, we wear this uniform, but once when we retire, we're back to Mr. Hooper. And but at the same time, it's those people that you touch and remember you being the person who helps everybody. That's what I want to remember for. That's where my legacy wants to be. I want to be. So that's
That's
why I do
awesome.
those things. And I do it with my kids. A lot of these volunteers that I do it with my kids because I want them to grow up that way. I want them to be a great ambassador, whatever country we're stationed to. And my son, especially my oldest one, because he's older, he's passionate about it. And when they see that, people would be more likely to support you because they see that you're passionate about it. And when you could explain the result on what the good things that it contributes, then yes, they will listen to that. But if it's check in the box, they're not going to support you the second time or the third time. And
So
that's all.
much, so much, so much knowledge bombs there. Jesus. Okay. I'm going to listen to my own this episode again because there's too many things I have to keep on thinking about. So same question to you. What do you think that as you got your first your first AAPI heritage, not the last, definitely not the last one. As these things you got in your pocket and you're gonna think about going into the next one. What do you think is going to be some ideas or maybe you met some frustrations, you want to overcome them on the next one in order to make this not just a celebration but advancement of the AAPI community?
Yeah. So after Wes and I were talking, we started developing like what's going to come after this. It's like we realized that May is API month, but API should be a continuous thing throughout the year. And we were very fortunate to come across that AAPI officer page, and they're doing stuff all year round. Like, and that's what should be doing is advancing the AAPI community by sharing stories or doing events all year round. It like that's how you advance. And having met all these people that we hosted virtually, just inspired by what they've done, especially like, for example, we got Major Singh, Captain Uza, defying the standards that the respective military branch has, and accommodating for the religious garments. And that's just like that. They don't even have a specific month where they're just doing it because they want to advance their community. And that's exactly what we all should be doing, is continuously raising awareness, continuously educating, and sharing our stories. So and another thing is networking too. That's after connecting with all these people, like we continually talk with them and make sure that we stay connected and build those bridges. So by the next time, then we could put on a bigger and more impactful event.
Awesome. No, dude. Okay. So a couple, prepare your final thoughts as I wax philosophical for a couple seconds. Very, very impressed. Very, very impressed by both of you. You guys are like re-bluing me to make sure like I got to start doing more. And I think I'll say we're not done yet, but like I want to thank you for your time tonight and just sharing your stories and sharing your passionate views about wanting to. I really, really like the idea of like, yeah, so it's Heritage Month in May. Guess what? Fucking AAPI like all year. 24/7, like that this is who we are. And so I'm not going to be bound by celebrating where we come from and what we bring to the fight in just the month of May. That's why like part of me started wanting to do this stuff in April, be like, you don't have to wait, right? You can do whatever you want. And so I think powerful communities like your local PhilAm groups, your local AAPI officer group, wherever those exist, make sure you connect to those things and get those networks, because there's all these in the I've had several mentoring connections, like Chewy's one of them, as far as like, so I'm started mentoring some younger API officers who are just trying to just share stories and perspective and stuff like that. And like, I'm more than happy to share those things. And those don't happen unless you go out there and put your face to just smaller things of like, no, I'm just volunteering for this thing, or I can help out with this thing in the background, or I have a good skill set with like social media or whatever it is that I can help out. I know the MMA guy because whatever, like there's ways that we can help kind of, elevate our community, constantly elevate. See what I did there? So, that idea of, no, it was good. Oh, trust me, puns all day. We could have the P should stand for Asian American pun. No, it's not. It's AAPI. But that idea of making sure that we don't just wait for May. I don't care. I want to celebrate who I am and the kind of leader I am and everything that makes me all year long. And so I like connecting with leaders like you, leaders that I can meet all over the world, and the Air Force gives me opportunities. And I'll say it to the Constant Elevation audience, like the idea of one of the recent, like within the last year, and if you work with me at Fort Meade, one of the mottos I started saying to like everybody is like, can't stop, won't stop. Like you can't stop, won't stop. Like, I'm going to do what I want. This stuff is so important to me that I'm going to make sure I get my job done, bring up my teammates and all kind of stuff, because you can't stop, won't stop me. This is so important to me that like I don't have to wait for wing leadership approval. I don't have to wait for the funding to come through and be like, I don't know what's going to, like, no, it's happening on Wednesday. Show the fuck up. Like, that's what's going to happen. That idea and that kind of attitude, I think people will be impressed by that. And leaders like both of you, keep on going. Keep on going wherever you happen to be in your point in your career. Make sure you're raising some of those junior airmen, junior officers to take that torch, and they're going to make it better. And who doesn't want to see that? Who doesn't want to see like, damn, I didn't even think about that. That's way better than whatever I did. And that's I guess one of my final comments before I pass it over to you guys is AAPI Heritage Events are not competitions. They're not. That like there should be a large like continuity book, be like, hey, here's some things and like things you want to think about, and then we just kind of keep on like Wikipediaing and collaborating all these lessons learned, because why wouldn't you want to share those things? These things, this is not the thing of I need to get this because I want to win this award or some bullshit. Like, fuck off. I don't want to work with you. I want to work with people who want to actually believe in this stuff because it's important versus just checking the box. Or I want to make sure wing leadership sees me. Like we can, I've been in the streets before. I can clearly see through that bullshit. Get away. I want to find the passionate airmen. I want to find the passionate officers who want to lead these things, because that's who I think is a better representation of us. That's the kind of person I want to see as the wing projo or whatever it is. And I'll do my part for my foxhole, and I think both of you guys are going to do it as well, to make sure that we continue to kind of constantly elevate this entire AAPI thing, because we bring so much to the fight. So again, gentlemen, thank you for your time tonight. Ferdy, I'm going to pass it to you first for any final thoughts for the evening, bro.
Okay, sir. Again, thank you too, first for inviting us on this one, letting us have a voice as well. And you already said a lot in there that was part of my final thoughts, but
I didn't write it down. I was just talking. Sorry.
yes. And but however, for advice and everything, and like I said, we usually do our planning starting in February, because there's a lot of logistics that happens on this one, networking that you got to do, plan A, plan B, because like what happened here at Kirtland before is primary location was outdoors, and then the weather was didn't cooperate. So now last minute you got to go find make sure you could execute all the equipment you have will work on the alternate location, that you're ready to execute advertising that the alternate, you go into the alternate location, secondary plan, things like that. All the equipments that you need, inventory your equipment, inventory your your budget too for what you could support, everyone that you need to escort on base if you need to, all the groups that are performing, can they commit, things like that. There is a lot of logistics on it. So definitely plan ahead. You don't have to do a weekly meeting. You could start by every 2 weeks, just finding POC. So advertise it, talk to, like I said, have a continuity binder as well. That's something I'm building this time, because after the 10 other OG left, we can't find a continuity binder from 2 years ago in 2019. So we have to start over this time and building that up again. So you're setting up the next team that are doing this for the next year, to say, hey, this is we need more lumpia sauce, the chili sauce, or we need more pancit because we barely ran out of pancit.
Somebody ate all this. Oh god.
Or all this stuff, and you want to make a plan up that you could make sure that you'll be able to feed all your volunteers, your performers, things like that, So take care of your people.
Dude, what if okay, so once I hit stop recording, you two are gonna stay online because we're gonna keep on talking. We're just gonna stop the YouTube live thing. We might have to start, not kidding, a larger AAPI Airman AAPI Heritage Event continuity thing, right. And then each chapter is per base. So you kind of it takes into account some local stuff, whatever it is. But then you have the general section. And then you have appendixes. Oh my God! See, this is how stupid I am. Yeah. I'm going through school right now, so I'm all JPME, oh, I have to do this planning and think about orders and writing things. But imagine you had a base order of AAPI heritage stuff. You had appendices of hey, this is the JBLE appendix. This is the Kirtland appendix. This is the Fort Meade appendix. And then you go whatever base you go to, you refer back to this thing, and you fall in on that. Bruh. Fuck.
Sounds like CPI as well, huh?
I just broke the fucking internet. Jesus. Okay. All right. No, we're gonna talk about that later. Whoever's listening to this, I'm not publishing this until later, but don't steal my idea. Okay. I'm excited about this. Lee, up to you. Any final comments or questions, sir?
No, I agree with Ferdy has to say with all that stuff, is because Wes and I, when we got selected for this, we're not a committee. We're just two people. We're just recruited through the EO office. So right now we're starting to form a committee with through the base legal and stuff like that. So once we have an actual committee, then we can start planning for this a year out, because like Ferdy said, it takes so much work, and we didn't realize it until we're second week of May. And so now when we have an actual committee, we can start prepping, and fundraising. Having money is not a necessity, but it's a nicety. We'd love to incorporate food, and once COVID is away, we can start bringing in people to do entertainment like dances and performances and stuff like that. And that takes a lot of planning. So that's all I gotta say is plan early.
Dude, I don't want to sign you guys up for work, but I probably am going to, and you're gonna like doing it anyway. But like the idea of like you two you're gonna help me write like that OG chapter, like the big portion of it, and then the appendices per base, bruh. That idea sounds amazing. It sounds amazing because it's something that like it just keeps on getting better. You start to see like different ideas. Like, let me go check out this other appendix. Like, oh shit, they were doing this. I didn't think about that. And like, especially if there's right now, we should be thinking about that combination as we all return back to the workforce, or to the workplace, I should say. We shouldn't just get rid of like the electronic versions of stuff. Like we need to retain those kind of muscle memory to make sure, like, yeah, so maybe a cooking ebook. How do you collaborate one of those? Well, here are some steps so you can do that. And then like, here's another one from this base, or you make like a regional one, or like from different kind of stuff. And so like that idea sounds very, very fascinating to me. So I will figure out ways to enable this with you guys. Okay. All right. So, gentlemen, again, so you are I'm very, very thankful for both of you sharing your time with me tonight. I've had a lot of guests. I'm going to do a quick roll call through my guests. I got my mentor, Colonel Trish Chank. And so she was the one that kind of kickstarted for me and wanted to do AAPI Leaders Unmuted. So I'm very, very thankful for her for kicking me in the ass and making sure I do this thing. We got Captain Felicia Yeager, Master Sergeant Ron Esposo, Captain Kevin Cho Tipton, Lieutenant Ayana Cole Fletcher, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Wong, Lieutenant Kum Lee, Sergeant Ferdy Hooper. That is a freaking murderer's row of leaders out there. People out in these AAPI leaders out in these streets, not waiting for stuff to happen. Not waiting for someone to be like, well, do you want to, like, I'm fucking to do what I want. Like, this is important to me. And I think that, that might not be the kind of energy that our larger Air Force community or even American community may not be ready for, but we're here. And it's not limited to the month of May. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be some stuff. I got to figure out how I'm going to organize my thoughts and organize high power people like you to make sure we get these things done. But like that idea of, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to stop in May. When Monday comes around, be like, all right, guys, just wait till 2022 until we talk about API shit again. Like, no, we should be doing more stuff out there. And so like, that idea of where we come from and the stuff we bring to the table, I'm excited about. So gentlemen, thank you again for joining me tonight. Constant Elevation audience, it's been a pleasure throughout this month of May. I'm looking forward to whatever I'm going to start doing in June, because I haven't figured that part out yet, but I know it's going to be exciting. So guys, you guys have a good night. Stay online when I hit stop. And then for everybody else, have a good rest of your AAPI Heritage Month, because it's been awesome and we ain't done yet. Can't stop, won't stop. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.